Have you ever stopped to think about how technology has shaped our lives? How much it distracts us and distances us from what really matters? I am Solana Marin, and in a near-death experience, God revealed something to me about modern technology that will leave you in shock. The truth is that we are being consumed by a digital world that promises connection, but only brings us more loneliness and emptiness. I experienced this firsthand. But through this divine revelation, I found the key to reclaiming true connection with what is essential: our soul, our relationships, and our faith. If you also feel that technology is distancing you from what really matters, this story is for you. Get ready to discover the truth that can change your life. Before continuing with the story, just one thing. Make sure you are subscribed to the channel so you don't miss any details of this journey. Now, let's get to the account. What I'm going to tell you now is not a dream or imagination. It's something that really happened to me. Something that completely changed everything I thought about life and what comes after it. It was an ordinary day. I had left home taking care of my daily tasks. You know, when you're on autopilot? It was like that. I was walking down the street thinking about the bills on my phone that I had to charge, the message I needed to respond to, and then everything stopped. Out of nowhere, a flash. I didn't see anything else. I didn't hear horns, I didn't feel impact, just silence, and then a white void as if the world had disappeared. That's when everything changed. I somehow knew I had died. Clinical death of being an after. My heart stopped for 13 minutes and 42 seconds. But during that time when my body was still, I woke up in another place. It was a place that couldn't be explained with human words. Everything was pasture. Everything was lightness. No fear, no pain, no weight. Just a feeling that I was being carried, protected like a baby in a mother's arms. And that's when I felt that presence. It wasn't a voice, it wasn't an image. It was something that made itself understood without speaking. I felt deep down that it was God. I know it may sound strange, but there was no way to doubt it. I didn't need to see a throne or angels singing. What I felt was a love so strong, so welcoming, that I cried. Yes, I cried because for the first time, I understood what it is to be loved unconditionally. He didn't judge me, didn't demand anything, just enveloped me in an invisible embrace that healed all the wounds I didn't even know I carried. At that moment I felt at home, and so began my journey out of the body. A journey that goes far beyond what we can imagine with open eyes. A journey I will never forget. After that invisible embrace, I felt as if I was being carried by a gentle breeze. Everything was so light, so calm. It was as if time no longer existed. Then something strange happened. In front of me appeared a kind of mirror, but it didn't reflect my face. It showed moments of my life, small scenes, as if I were watching a movie where the protagonist was myself. I saw myself on the couch, with the phone in my hand. I was with my mother in the living room, but I didn't even notice her presence. I saw my father passing behind me, trying to start a conversation, and I only responded with my eyes half on the screen. Then I saw myself in bed, endlessly scrolling late at night. Feeling an emptiness I tried to fill with videos, photos, and messages, but none of that truly filled me. It was like eating a lot of sweets and still being hungry. That's when that presence I knew to be God spoke to me, not with words, but with a feeling that took over me. And it made me understand something simple and profound. You got lost in what distracted you. At that moment it clicked. Technology wasn't the problem was how I used it. I realized I spent hours connected to the world, but completely disconnected from myself, my soul, the people who loved me, and especially from God. It was hard to see this so blatantly, but it wasn't to hurt me. It was to wake me up. I understood that that little device that was always in my hand had become a kind of shield between me and the real world. I thought about how many times I failed to look into someone's eyes, how many times I failed to listen to my heart, to silence my mind because I was too busy watching other people's lives. There, in that space where time didn't exist, I saw that I was becoming a stranger to myself, and all because of a distraction that seemed harmless but was robbing me of the essential. And once again I cried, but this time not out of sadness. I cried because I understood, because I realized there was still time, and that if I went back I could do things differently. After everything I had already seen, I thought nothing else could surprise me, but I was wrong. I was taken to a place that seemed like heaven, but without clouds. It was a vast space, full of golden light, pulsing as if it had life. And there, I began to see something I will never forget. It was as if golden threads came out of me, threads of light energy that stretched to other people. My mother, my father, my grandmother, my friends, even strangers with whom I had exchanged a kind word. These threads shone brighter when the love was sincere, when I listened to someone with attention, when I gave a true hug, when I forgave, when I helped someone without wanting anything in return. These simple moments, but full of heart, were what truly connected me to others. Then another scene appeared beside it. It was like a tangle of cold, noisy blue digital threads. They came from my phone, the computer, the internet. But, unlike the golden threads, these seemed to leave me more alone. Even when I was talking to many people, my heart was silent. God, or that force of love that guided me, made me feel a question that wouldn't leave my mind. Who were you really connected to? It was like a gentle shock to the chest. I understood that true connection has no cable, doesn't need Wi-Fi or likes. It happens when we are truly present, when we look into the eyes, when we listen with the soul, when we feel together. At that moment I saw what I was trading. I am Shreve. The golden, alive, meaningful threads for quick, shallow, and often empty digital connections. And then I decided, if I go back, I wanted to reconnect. But truly, I wanted to strengthen each golden thread, one by one. I wanted to be more with those who love me. I wanted to say I love you, looking into the eyes. I wanted to listen more, judge less, feel more, post less. Because in the end, when everything is over, what remains are not the messages on the phone, but the invisible bonds we build with love. I thought I was always surrounded by people. One, see you, online friends, family group on the phone. Now, work colleagues, notifications every 5 minutes. But on that other plane, where everything was so clear, I saw something that cut me inside. I was alone, truly alone. There, what you feel inside appears on the outside. And I saw an emptiness, a gaping hole. It was as if I had built a beautiful house on the outside, but forgotten to put furniture, windows, human warmth. I felt ashamed, because I realized that for a long time I tried to fill this void with everything that wasn't meant for it. Distractions, tasks, social networks, even shopping. I lived too busy to realize that inside, I lacked real life. There, on the spiritual plane, they showed me scenes from my daily life. Me eating alone, scrolling through my phone in bed, pretending to be happy in photos, but crying in the shower. And the worst part, I was so used to this emptiness that I thought it was normal. I remember one scene in particular. I was at a party smiling at everyone, but inside I was screaming for help. There, in that other plane, the scream could be heard, and it echoed strongly. Why did you distance yourself so much from yourself, Solana? That's when it clicked. The most painful isolation is not having no one around, but being disconnected from yourself. I had forgotten to look inside, to take care of my soul, to ask how I was really doing. In that spiritual place, surrounded by peace and truth, I felt an invisible embrace coming from something much greater, as if saying, "You can still come back, there's still time to find yourself." At that moment, hope was born inside me, and I promised myself, if I returned to life, I wouldn't let this emptiness grow again. I would learn to listen to myself, to welcome myself, to seek silence to hear myself, and not just to escape the noise, because now I knew. The isolation that really hurts is losing yourself. After that deep silence in which I immersed, where I realized the emptiness I carried myself, the mentors led me to a new vision. They showed me what could happen if everything continued as it was, not only with me, but with the whole world. It was as if a curtain opened before my spiritual eyes. Cities full of people with empty looks, all busy, hurried, connected to everything but themselves. Children growing up without spiritual references, young people lost in comparisons and distractions, adults exhausted, and elderly people full of silent regrets. There was a kind of gray over everything. It wasn't something physical, it was emotional, energetic, like a fog of fatigue, apathy, and lack of meaning. No one looked up, no one closed their eyes in prayer, no one asked themselves anymore, "Why am I here?" That hurt me more than anything, because I understood that this apathy wasn't punishment. It was a consequence of a life without pause, without reflection, without soul. But like a breath of hope, the mentors showed me another scene. It was more subtle, smaller, like a flickering flame in the midst of darkness. Before continuing, just a request: subscribe to the channel. Before we continue, just one request: please subscribe to our channel. It really helps us keep going. This helps us a lot to continue. There was a woman waking up early, and before touching her cell phone, she closed her eyes and gave thanks. There was a young man turning off the video game to listen to his grandfather talk about faith. There was a simple man entering a small room and with a sincere heart, asking God for strength. There was someone feeling peace just by looking at the sky, feeling that they were not alone. It was as if, in small gestures, another future was being built. A spiritual bond was not a detail, but the center of life. One of the mentors approached me and said, "With you, Rena, the world changes when the spirit awakens." The alternative to apathy is in each person's consciousness. You saw where this can lead. Now it's in your hands to choose how to live. I took a deep breath. Even without having a physical body at that moment, I felt as if my heart had beaten differently, as if something inside me was reorganizing. And it was there, in that vision between two possible futures, that I began to understand. True transformation does not happen in crowds, but in the intimate decision of a soul to remain awake. After everything I saw empty, the golden threads, the possible future, something inside me still felt that a final answer was missing. I wondered, but what about God? Where was he while all this was happening? Did he see when I got lost? Did he hear when I screamed inside and no one listened? It was at that moment that a light began to form in front of me. It was not an ordinary light. It seemed to have life. It was warm, gentle, and at the same time immense, as if embracing everything around. I felt my spirit being drawn to it. I didn't walk. I didn't fly. I was simply attracted, as if my heart recognized that place. Suddenly I felt, not heard with my ears, but with something deeper. It was as if a voice spoke directly inside me. And it was not a voice that judged, demanded, or accused. It was a presence, a certainty, a love so great that I couldn't hold back the tears. God didn't say many words. He didn't need to. It was as if everything was said in a single breath, in a single vibration. But if I had to translate what I received there, it would be something like this. I have been with you all the time, in your silences, in your doubts, in your distractions. Even when you moved away, I continued to look at you with love. You are my daughter, and like every daughter, you have the right to learn, to fall, and to get up. I do not abandon you. I always wait for you. These words passed through me like a wave of light. I was not a lost sinner. I was a soul in learning, and God was not a judge. He was a patient, firm, and deeply loving Father. It was there that everything made sense. The golden connections I saw, the moments of pause, the small gestures that create another path, all of that was the way God continues to reach us, even when the world tries to distance us from Him. Before returning to my body, I heard one more gentle phrase like a farewell. Take this truth with you. It is not necessary to die to awaken. Those who listen with the heart live with the Spirit. And so, without fanfare, without fear, I awoke. I woke up in a hospital surrounded by doctors, lights, and machines. But inside me there was something new, a flame that does not go out. I returned to life with a mission, to remind the world that God's message is still alive and resides in the silence of the heart. I know that everything I shared may have sounded like a great journey, full of mysteries and spiritual encounters. But in the end, what I learned the most is that we all have the ability to hear the messages of the heart. If we are willing to stop for a moment and look inside, God is not distant. He does not dwell only in sacred words or churches. He dwells in each of us, in small actions, in human connections, and in the silence of our soul. It is not necessary to wait for a great moment of crisis or a death to understand this. What I lived, I brought into my daily life. I learned to listen more, to connect with my essence, to see the beauty in simple things. And if you are listening to me now, know that this truth is also yours. God's love has no boundaries. It does not need grand signs or complex words. It reveals itself in the simplest moments. So when you feel lost, when the weight of the world seems unbearable, remember, you are never alone. The path back to the light can be simple. Just open your heart. I am Solana, and this was my journey back to love. Now I invite you to embark on your own with courage, faith, and hope. And may peace and light be with you always. If you liked it, don't forget to leave your like below. Also, comment on what touched you the most in this video. I love reading your comments. And of course, if you are not yet subscribed, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any news of this journey. Until the next video.